with using AI now, agents are going to be able to scale to where I believe now a manager is going to be able to effectively manage probably 20 to 25 people versus the 6 people, because now they don't have to spend time 30 minutes on a phone or role playing with the team. All of this is done for them in a more effective, efficient manner. And that allows you to now, as an agency owner, to scale without bringing on those team leads or middle management costs.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Ask the Experts. And I'm your host today, Andy Arter, and today's conversation is all about thinking differently, scaling smarter, and buying back your time in an industry that's changing super fast. Our guest today is Michael Weaver. We've had you on here before, Michael, and today's conversation is going to have a bit of a different flavor, which I'm super excited for. And Michael is one of the most respected leaders and innovators in the insurance space today. He led one of the top performing State Farm agencies in the country, which is how I first learned about you, building a reputation for elite sales performance, strong culture, and disciplined accountability. But after stepping away from day-to-day agency ownership, he founded the Weaver Sales Academy, where he helped thousands and continues to help thousands of agents and producers dramatically increase their production, skill, and confidence through proven sales frameworks and coaching systems. But most recently, Michael has taken the industry by storm with Agency Coach AI, a platform that's fundamentally changing how agencies think about training, accountability, and scale by leveraging artificial intelligence in practical, real-world ways. He's also the host of the Insurance Buzz podcast, where he continues to challenge the conventional thinking and push the industry forward. So today, Michael, we're going to be diving into why thinking differently is no longer optional, how AI can be used to scale intelligently and not replace people, increase performance and accountability without micromanagement. That's a huge one. Buying back your time as an agency owner. I know everybody wants to do that. And then how AI can dramatically increase the return on investment you're already making into your people, trainers, and coaching. So this is going to be a high-level practical conversation about the future of agency growth and how to stay ahead of it with artificial intelligence. And let's welcome the man himself, Michael Weaver. Good morning, sir.
Man, good morning. What an intro, dude. I need you in my life more often every single morning, Andy. That was good stuff, brother. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And for a very, very small fee or some referrals, I can definitely tag along, and I can do intros all day for you. Just send me your schedule and I'll be there.
I love it. I love it, man. This is I'm excited for today's conversation. AI, I think, is on everybody's mind, and it's progressing so quickly. So I'm super jazzed to have a conversation with you today about this and how it is affecting positively the insurance industry and our peers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've, heard your name floating out there a lot, and with all of the noise around it, right? You've got all these GPTs and these Groks out there, and then you've got carriers bringing down different solutions, and you've got every mainstream software integrating it in different ways, but it sometimes can be overwhelming to wrap your arms around it all. So I'm super excited because you've sort of taken that very large arena and focus it into some very specific solutions and framework to help agencies really start to, implement it in a way that's going to impact their bottom line, like now, like this month, not 6 months from now, not a year from now. And frankly, I think that people don't necessarily have the time to go figure it all out themselves. They're not operating an AI organization, they're operating an agency, but they know that they need these solutions and technologies to help advance them forward. And you guys have been helping tons of agencies do that. But I think a lot of agents hear AI and immediately think, fear or confusion or overwhelm. And what I'd like to ask you just first and foremost is, how should agency owners actually be thinking about AI today when it comes to their agency?
I think this isn't even the core belief that AI was made to help everyone's life be easier, more efficient. When talking about an insurance agency owner, insurance agency in general, I'm seeing firsthand how AI is helping them scale faster, more efficiently, be able to scale without bringing on middle management cost, bringing accountability and perceived accountability, which is increasing performance right away, speed up new hire development. You said this earlier, buying back time. I hope Dan Martell got a trademark on that little phrase, but helping agents buy back their time. I mean, just with Agency Coach AI, we're seeing agents or managers, depending on what an agency looks like from a coaching perspective, they're saving 10 to 15 hours a week, not a month, a week within the first month of utilizing our software system. So, and I would say that AI is meant to help you buy back your time. And that's the best part is you as an insurance agency owner, you are the professional, you are the CEO of your business to help your business grow. And that's why I think AI is so beneficial to you and your team is now you don't have to choose between necessarily training and coaching the team or growing your business. You can be laser hyper focused on growing your business and allow AI to give you the information needed to be a more effective and efficient coach at the same time and have more data on what's going on within your agency so you can make better business owner decisions. So I believe AI is going to be an agency owner, manager, their producer's best friend now, and it's only going to get better. This is the worst AI is ever going to be.
Wow, that's a really, really interesting way. I really appreciate, that perspective in general, that this is the worst it's going to be, which I'm sure in that context mean that the level of growth and the compounding growth that's happened has kind of overwhelmed the market with so many different solutions all at once. And there's so little that's known about it by so many. Of course, corporations are investing millions and billions of dollars to integrate it. But then you've got the small business owner, you've got the $2, $6, $10, $20 million agency owner, and they're like, hey, how can I get on this train? And so we're kind of in the mix of that right now. Let's take something very practical. So old days, rewind the clock 5 years. I'm an agency owner. I have 3 producers. They're on the phone all day. And all of a sudden we have a dip in sales. So I'm like, oh, I need to go and figure out what in the world is happening. So I got to maybe analyze my leads. I got to maybe sit down with time I don't have and review calls. And then I've got to take those calls and somehow conceptualize them and bring them back to my team and somehow communicate to them, hey, these are the gaps and the areas that we need to work on. So very manual labor. And that was the labor of love, right? You were involved in the training space and still are in a big way where, yeah, sometimes you had to roll your sleeves up. But what I hear all the time is like, I don't have time to do that. Like if I could just hire somebody to listen to my calls for me, a human, hoping they're the right human to listen to them, give feedback to my team, that is the missing gap. So walk me through how an agency today with your solution can solve that problem. And what does that look like for them today? Are they listening to calls? Are they managing a software system? Are they, taking a printout from AI feedback and having to run a training for their team? Or does it train their team? If you could just nuts and bolts kind of walk through a day in the life of somebody using your solution and how it helps solve that specific problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can speak only on behalf of Agency Coach AI, obviously, because that's our software solution. I know there's a lot of AIs out there. And the old way of doing things, you said it, we just didn't have time to do that, even though we knew it needed to get done, even though we knew we needed to coach the team, even though we needed to be heavier and more hands-on on training. It just didn't get done because so many agents wear so many hats in the office, especially those first 1, 2, 3 years, and they don't have the capital to necessarily invest in a manager or a team lead, that those balls get dropped. And so that's where I believe AI is so beneficial right now, specifically Agency Coach, because I don't even agree necessarily with the way of, because you actually just hinted to this, is okay, you hire a manager or team lead to listen to calls. Well, think about how distracted someone gets in a call. They're on their cell phone, they're checking email. There's absolutely no way that you can pick up on every aspect of a call. It's just, there's no way possible. We live in an environment where we're more distracted than ever. The average attention span of an office worker is 3 minutes right now. Average attention span of a 16-year-old is 65 seconds. So when you think about how can I hire someone or help my team be the best they can, is the best use of even a team lead right now that's listening to calls, that can't listen to every call. They got to kind of pick and choose what calls they're listening to in a day. Is the best use of their time actually listening to the call? Or is it using AI to break down that call and give them more information than they actually had available to them by listening to it and tell them exactly where their team members struggled and what to coach them on to improve them next time. And that's exactly one of the areas that we're fixing with Agency Coach AI, to where we're now transcribing every call in real time, to where managers, right when that call hangs up, they get the data. The producer gets the data. It grades it. It's going to tell them exactly what they did well, 3 areas of strength, 3 areas of improvement. We're going to grade against the talk track or script that they're supposed to be doing. So now the managers know exactly where they got off. The other cool thing that I've got a lot of positive feedback on is now it's not only grading the sales rep, but it's also grading how the customer sentiment in that conversation, how they engaged with the producer, how they actually received the information that the producer was telling them. Were they engaged? Did they believe the information? So now the sales rep or the manager has the ability to also see, okay, here's the sales rep, here's the customer. And then we're breaking down the risk of the conversation, not just that closing objection that they receive, but every risk in the conversation that would keep it from closing. So maybe lack of trust, maybe lack of sense of urgency, to where now that manager has the ability to go in and know exactly what to coach that team member or sales producer on to be more effective and efficient. And now they don't have to listen to a 15, 20, 30-minute call trying to remember everything that they heard. And then with Agency Coach, we have a coach that's actually built into Agency Coach, to where not only are we analyzing everything, but the coach is actually then going to coach your team member on, hey, here's where you could have done better in the conversation. Here's what you could have done differently. Here's the exact question you could have asked in this situation to get the prospect more involved in the conversation that would have created a higher sense of urgency to buy and eliminated that objection. And so, and the coach also is, think about this as a manager, is it works as an assistant to the sales coach or the manager, to where that coach could go in and ask, we call her, our coach's name's Ava. So you could go in and ask Ava, hey, Ava, I'm about to coach Andy. Based off of this conversation, what 1 or 2 points should I coach Andy on? And specifically, what should I say in this coaching session? And Ava gives that to you in 10 seconds. So not only is it helping the producer, but it's helping the manager. Again, everything with AI is about being more efficient, more effective, more productive. How can we be better at what we do without having to work harder or spend more time?
Wonderful. And here's a experience that I'd be really interested to hear about. Okay. So I'm an agency. I bring this in, it sort of crawls its way up in and does this forensic level of benchmarking, right? Because it's, to your point, picking up on things that a manager or a human being might not, and it's operating at a level like artificial intelligence, right? Like it's a level of intelligence. It's an artificial intelligence, but it's operated at an IQ that's just absolutely off the chart, right? So all of a sudden you have this thing come in and it's learning things and it's showing you strengths and weaknesses across the board with different employees. Like, what are maybe the biggest 1 or 2 aha moments that agency owners are having right now when they get to experience that for the first day or the first week or the first month, and they get the data back and they start to see, you know, where different team members sit, what weaknesses are happening, what gaps they have on their calls, like these red flags. It's like, caution, like if you had any exposure, it's like this person with this specific objection or whatever, right? I'm really curious the feedback you guys are getting from agency owners that go like, I had no idea that was happening in my business, or like I had an idea, but I didn't know how to pinpoint it. What are some of those stories and stuff that you're getting back? I'd be really curious what people are learning about their business when they allow this thing into it.
So most of it has been really good. Now, there was one agent that emailed me like 2 days after, and she had a couple cuss words in the email. And she's just like, I had to fire the guy, like, because he was doing things kind of non-compliantly and she wasn't aware of it. And so now that's like a one-off instance. Like all the rest of it has been very, not that that's not positive, at least now you have a better understanding of what's going on in your agency and things like that. But most of it's been very positive. And I would tell you that it's helped agents really narrow down, or managers, coaches, just depending on, again, how big the agency is, what the format of the agency is, really understand what is actually happening in that conversation. So when we're grading against certain sales tracks or scripts, maybe the team member or producer is doing 80% of it, but where are they struggling within that? Are they struggling within the rapport building? Is their tonality off? Is the pace of conversation off? So these are all things that the AI, that's been the biggest feedback personally that we've got, is that they love that the AI is grading against the tonality, the pace, the filler words, because that's what a lot of producers struggle with. And then the other feedback that I've received is the team member actually, was price the actual objection, or was it something else? Are they actually trying to overcome those objections? And then on the most positive note, I would tell you is the preconceived accountability. So the preconceived accountability is what has increased performance so much. And what I mean by preconceived accountability is now producers and team members understand that every call. So we used to say an old saying, the checker gets what the checker checks. Well, now the checker's checking everything. And so the producers automatically know that every call is going to be recorded, transcribed, tracked, looked at. And that in itself is why I personally believe that the performance has increased so fast, because we're averaging an 18 to 22% increase in agency performance within the first 90 days. And a lot of this happens within the first 6 weeks. But I truly believe it's because of truly the preconceived accountability of, oh my gosh, I have to be on every call because someone's going to be listening to this. It's going to get graded. The AI is going to give me feedback. The AI is going to give me coaching. And so the scoring has worked as a gamification. No one wants to score low. And so producers are coming to the table, doing their best on every single call to try to get that score. We've seen direct correlations with scores above 750. So we score on a scale of 0 to 1,000. And so one agent that I work with, just off the top of my head, the very first calls that his team member was doing were scoring around 300, and the team member was really struggling. Like the close rates were lower than other individuals in the office. So his highest performer in the office, his calls were scoring about 850 to 870 on average. So you have a 300 average versus an 850 to 700. So, or 800 to 850. So what that agent did is he stuck the team member through our role play technology. And so our role play technology also scores. And so the scores were also around that 300 range. And so what he had him do was role play for 2 days in a row, nothing but practice sessions, because he was tired of wasting money on the leads because he wasn't converting on leads. And so that team member in the 2-day period increased the score to roughly about 650 to 700. At that point in time, the agent stuck the team member back on the phone, scored a 7.0, it was like a 702, 703. I don't remember the exact score off the top of my head, just going off Corey's feedback to me, and closed the business. So there's a direct correlation with our scoring in the gamification as well of, number one, team members like the idea of getting feedback from AI because it's not biased. It's not opinionated. There's no human element there. It's not your opinion of what you think happened. It's here's what actually happened and here's what needs to happen. And the scores are equating. The higher the score, the more likely the business is to actually convert. And so that's really great feedback for agents and managers to know, because now they can look at the scoring system and be like, okay, you're scoring low. You need to go practice. And then we're going to stick you back on the phones once you're scoring above an 80% on the role plays. And that should increase your score on the live calls if you're doing what you're supposed to do. And so those are just some success stories that we've had with it. But the biggest thing is saving managers time, but the feedback across the board has been really, really great, from being able to save managers time, give them more information, and team members actually loving the fact that the AI is the one coaching and training them versus the managers, because there's no opinion now. It's just, here's what happened, here's what needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. And I love the fact that it's actually got a score to it, and that you are able to gamify it, because, traditional sales producer, their gamification was, if I do better, I make more money, but you don't actually see that until it shows up on a paycheck 30 days later. To be able to each and every single day have a number that you can chase, that's not just a sales figure, but it's actually your performance. And it kind of reminds me of like playing in an actual game in a stadium versus playing a scrimmage. Like now that they're under the microscope, and, I'm sure there's been fears of producers like, I'm under the microscope, right? But to hear the feedback has been really positive from employees and team members, that they like that and they like getting the feedback, and it helps them. And ultimately, I guess the sales pitch to them as well is, this is just going to help you make more money and be more successful and have less friction in your day. So like, why wouldn't you want to do it? And then do you guys survey or talk with the front-facing employees that are experiencing this and going through this process? And like, what kind of feedback are they giving you on like wins and things that like bottlenecks, I guess the low hanging fruit where you're like, hey, a very typical experience is a producer comes through, they use this for a week or two. And like, these are some of the common things that we find it like correcting for them. Do you guys have kind of like I don't know, like an early sign of things that you see happen for a lot of producers that are like easy wins that typically take place?
So I hinted at this earlier. The biggest feedback that we've received from producers is they've liked the grading on and the instant feedback on the tonality and pace of conversation, because so many times as sales producers, you can kind of get into a rut. You can kind of get into the day-to-day routine. Maybe you're not paying attention of like your tonality, of the rhythm of the conversation. And so that's been the best feedback we've actually got from individual producers, is they like that instant grading and feedback and coaching with exactly how they did right on that call or right on that practice session. Because if your tone, we have seen direct correlations with if your tonality's off or the pace of conversation's off, maybe you're not clear in your enunciations, it is affecting your closing rates. And so that's been extremely beneficial. Like actually he was my very first customer I ever brought on. Ben, he's one of the top farmers agents in the country. And he had a conversation with me. He's like, Michael, he's like this, I really hope that it helps this one producer in my office. He's like, he's got tons of skill, but man, his tone, he just comes across as kind of an a-hole on the phone. And we've tried to coach him out of this without being like a-holes ourselves. And it hasn't clicked. Within the first 2 to 3 days, he kept getting the feedback on tonality. And he actually approached Ben and Kayla's his manager, and he's like, I think my tonality's off a little bit. And they're like, you think so? But by fixing that, he saw an instant increase in production because it made him aware of it. That's all. Like, AI is really good at making you aware of problems. Like, I can tell you, because I'm personally have been having calls, 7 to 8 calls a day with agents. And so I role play with our program every single day, showing and just demonstrating. The AI has helped me get better because of that awareness. So I'm a pretty fiery guy, excited. So I can start to talk really fast. So one thing that was on my role plays was pace of conversation. And so just by becoming aware of that, my scores have increased. And so if I can I'm just one of those guys that I believe anyone can get better. Like, there's a reason why your Michael Jordans of the world, your Kobe Bryants of the world, that they had a coach, they had a trainer. Like, they went and they saw a coach every single week. You're talking about two of the best that's ever played the game. It's the same reason why Michael Jordan started off with chest passes and layups to start every practice. And Kobe was at the gym an hour before everybody shooting free throws, because that's what they did most often. And they needed to become the masters of it. It's not like they got good at it and they just stopped. They practice the fundamentals every single day. And that's been some of the biggest feedback that producers have enjoyed, is now they can go in and they can actually practice. They can role play. There's a difference in watching a role play and actually doing the role play. And when you ask about feedback, they've liked the AI role play scenarios because there's no shame, there's no judgment, there's no awkwardness, there's no worried about your peers maybe looking stupid in front of them. It's just you and the AI, just like a customer, where you get to practice, you get to get better, and you get the grading, you get the coaching, you get the feedback. And that's helped elevate team members' performance, because they are able to just practice whenever they want. Like, we had in the month of December, we had almost 13,000 minutes of role plays done, which on a holiday month, that's pretty incredible. And not only that, we saw from October to December, the average role play length went from like 2 minutes and like 40 seconds up to over 5 minutes per role play. So team members are doing a really good job of just getting into this, practicing. They're practicing on the weekends. Like, it really is incredible to watch how this is impacting agencies, producers, managers, all the way around.
That's amazing. That was, thinking as well from, I'll put on my agency owner hat, although I'm not an agency owner. Okay. And I'm like, all right, Michael, I got a certain way I want to do things. Right. And I'm either the agency owner is like, we're real aggressive. We're like Jordan Belfort of insurance, or you've got the one who's like, we're very hometown. We don't want to like offend our customers. Yes, we want to increase close rates, but like, we're a very specific niche, feel good agency. And then you've got like the agency owners, like, we don't really have a flavor here. Like, maybe you guys can just help bring in a coaching model that works well. I'm curious if there's adjustability to that, where you're like, there's a temperature to the type of coaching that's going on, to the scoring, or if an agency owner came in and said like, I don't want to mold my team into just some, I don't want to call it generic, right? But like some out of the box stylized style of selling. I have a very specific way I want to do things. Here's our scripts. Like how much customization is available today? And like, what does that look like going into the future for an agency owner to influence that? And then just to, really stack on this question, a follow-up question to that would be, do you find opportunity where you might even have to advise somebody that, hey, like, I don't professionally agree with the style that you've been training. Like actually, like the AI has shown us a better way than maybe you're even doing it today. Like, can you bring an agency owner around to see it a different way? Or do you just try to honor, kind of their style and how they want the flavoring within the training? Or is there a mix between both?
That's a really great question. That's a really, really good question. So a lot of agency owners do want, what I've found is they're not so specific on the actual coaching. So let me break down your question into a couple pieces. So the very first thing was scripts, talk tracks, whatever you want to call it, sales philosophies in your office. So we do have the ability to grade against those specific talk tracks or scripts. So the agent just provides it to us. We create the analysis in the background. We upload it to their workspace. Every single call is going to be graded against that. It doesn't matter if it's the sales conversation, maybe it is service. So a lot of companies are starting to incentivize for retention rates. And so I have a ton of agents right now that have uploaded like inside sales or CSR or service analysis to where they want every single service call graded on rapport built, the problem solved, and cross-sell opportunity. And we'll grade against that cross-sell from life insurance to Google review to appointment, whatever cross-sell or cross-sells they want on that, we'll grade against that on every single service transaction as well. Most importantly, that they're building rapport with the customer, that they're actually identifying the problem, that they're solving the problem, that the overall customer experience is fantastic. And then they're trying to generate additional revenue for the agency. So yes, in all realms, like that doesn't matter. Whatever an agent wants their team graded on, bam, we'll do that on the live calls. And then the other question you asked me is coaching. So Ava, what we did with Ava is we went out and sourced a ton of information off the webs from all the sales gurus you can think of. We put it into a condensed format. We made her a consultative style sales coach, because if you research how humans want to be sold to in today's environment, it's very consultative style, meaning they're engaged, they're asking questions, they're educated. And so what Ava's really good at, and we've received tremendous feedback on this as well, like we have Google reviews actually talking about Ava, is Ava's going to get really good at teaching your team how to get customers involved in the conversations, giving them the exact questions to ask. We actually had one Google review from a district manager that was like, Ava's better than any human coach I've ever hired. Just because, think about this, like she has the ability to analyze the entire conversation, pinpoint specifics in the conversation, and tell you the exact question you could have asked in that scenario to get that customer more involved. And so right now, I think the biggest hurdle that agents are trying to overcome with producers, just from my experience, not only with me being in insurance, but working, on my other company side, I've worked with over 15,000 insurance professionals, is going from transactional style selling, being so focused on price, to how can we convert more households at more apps per household. And the only way you do that and not be focused on price is if you do have that consultative style sales approach where you're good at engaging the customer, asking questions, figuring out pain points, educating, and then obviously closing like a freaking shark, man. Like I'm all about it. So we tuned Ava to be really assertive and assumptive on the front end and back end, consultative in the middle, just like most insurance agents want their team. Like they want their team being very assumptive up front, very assumptive and assertive on the back, but very consultative in the middle. And so that's the best thing about Agency Coach is it wasn't built by a freaking tech guy that knows nothing about the insurance industry. It was built by me and my wife, Courtney, that have over a decade of experience. We ran insurance agencies. I've made thousands and thousands of cold calls. I know the pain points, and I wanted to solve those pain points. And so that's what we've done. That's what we've done, and the feedback's been good. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, we can make it as custom as an agent wants. And then on the coaching, we've received nothing but great feedback from Ava on how we've got her tuned up.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody's listening, you engage with these guys, like, even if you're kind of like, hey, this is the way we do things here, like, this is my mindset, like, all due respect to that person, right? You are one person with one background, with one set of experience. And when you look at some of the things that can be accomplished with AI, like I've I've been a super user myself for years and years and years. And like some of the things I just step back and go, holy cow. Like I'll ask it, what would it have taken 10 years ago to duplicate what we just did here in 10 minutes? And it's like, well, you'd need 250 engineers that are MIT graduates, and you need like the level of intelligence that's brought in from a wider scope. And to your point, being able to analyze and pinpoint things and then put that in context is so advanced that it's like, I think sometimes you can take a step back and say, hey, like chances are that this is going to be an improved version of the coaching that I was doing. So I love that you guys have like brought in the intelligence behind, like loading in all these different trainers and data sets to it. That's incredible.
That's what it's about. It's about making humans irreplaceable. Like that's why we created Agency Coach AI. Yes, we created Agency Coach to save agency owners and managers time and producers time as well, to increase performance, to help everyone make more money, to speed up training times to where the AI can train your team for you. And then you can just do what you're good at, coach and finesse them. But at the end of the day, all this boils back to making humans as good as they can, making them irreplaceable. And that's what I believe we've done the best with Agency Coach. And when you talk about that, and I know I'm getting a little fired up and excited here, but I just see what's happening in agency. Like I've never received so many texts and emails on a weekly basis just saying thank you. Like I had a manager in office break down on a virtual call just crying because she's like, Michael, you've saved me 15 to 20 hours a week. She's like, my entire role has changed in what I'm doing in the office. And so that's why I do what I do is impact. But think about the scalability now with using AI. So now in a traditional setting, like I'm sure, have you ever heard of Extreme Ownership with Jocko Willink, the book?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Navy SEALs run in platoons of 6 for a reason. That's all a manager can typically manage effectively is 6 people. With using AI now, agents are going to be able to scale to where I believe now a manager is going to be able to effectively manage probably 20 to 25 people versus the 6 people, because now they don't have to spend time 30 minutes on a phone or role playing with the team. All of this is done for them in a more effective, efficient manner. And that allows you to now, as an agency owner, to scale without bringing on those team leads or middle management costs. So where you can put your money into the producers, you don't have to promote your best producer anymore. Now you find somebody that's really good at management, really good at team lead, really good at coaching. You let them manage or coach the 15, 20 people now, and you can put all of your money into the producers because sales cures all. And that's what this is about. This is a sales generative business. The more revenue you have, the bigger your agency is going to go. That's why we do this. Carriers are putting more pressure than ever on agency owners to produce. Well, you can't just produce without more people. So you're going to have to invest in people. And that middle management cost is usually what costs agents the most, because they don't want to necessarily manage the people, but they also may not have the payroll to bring on 2, 3, 4 managers to manage 15 or 20 salespeople. And so that's where I think agencies that are super focused on scaling, where AI is going to help them tremendously, is now be able to scale more efficiently. And it's going to be a little bit of a mindset shift without a doubt. Like that's one thing I've had to talk to agents about, because our cost is $100 a user per month. And so when you think about that, maybe you have a team of 20. And so, okay, so that would be $20,000, or I'm sorry, $2,000 a month. But think about what a manager would cost, or managers, to manage those 20,000 people or those 20 people. So if you think about now, instead of with only having 1 manager versus 3, I'm saving you roughly what, $120,000 to $150,000 in payroll. And so that's substantial, because now you could put that same amount of payroll into an additional 2 or 3 producers that are going to generate way more revenue than a manager or team lead would have. And so that's what excites me the most about like those agents that are scaling bigger agencies. But Agency Coach solves different problems for different agency groups. I mean, you got to think the average agency is going to be what, your 3 to 6 people. And then the next step I say is 6 to 12. And then you've got your 12 plus that are scaling really fast. And so Agency Coach kind of solves different problems for different agency scenarios and frameworks. But I'm watching the scale. Like I've watched Ben, I mentioned him earlier. When he started, he had, I think, 19 or 20 on our program just in the last 4 months since using us. Now he's up to 35, and he hasn't had to hire any additional managers.
Wow. And I talk to agency owners all the time on the team hired side that are dying to find that $60,000 to $70,000 a year manager plus overrides and commission that they cannot steal from another agent, because that person's loyal. They're not leaving. So they've got to either like just fly solo and be everything all at once, or they got to go out and like bring somebody in, groom them, teach them, get them up to their speed, which could take 6 months to a year to have somebody doing 70% of what you can. So, I mean, I'm seeing as well for those agents that maybe have a staff of 3, not 20, not 30, but 3. And they're like, I've been looking for a middle manager to like help run, you know, some of the operations and training and stuff that I don't have time for. So I see this as a huge solution there. I mean, you did the math, you know, with a team of 3 or 4 or 5 too. Like you do the math on that versus I'm going to go pay somebody $5,000 a month plus commissions to like manage this thing for me versus what they would pay into this. So that's huge. And that's not replacing somebody. That's actually filling a position that's just widely wanted and it's not fulfilled across much of the industry right now.
Yep. And think about this. If even with that scenario you just said, so I actually just helped an agent get started yesterday, that it's him, a team lead, and 4 producers. And he has a team lead because he hates to manage and coach people. And the team lead on the call was actually like, is this going to replace me? I'm like, absolutely not. This is going to make you more effective and efficient at what you do, to where you can do what you do best. You can coach, you can finesse, you can know the exact pain points in the conversation that you can now coach your producers on, which is going to increase performance even more. I'm like, so this is going to do nothing but help increase performance. And what the point we were just saying, because I have a plan on hiring 4 to 5 more this year, is now we don't have to bring on another Jason. Now Jason can effectively manage 10 people versus the 5 to 6. So this is going to help you do nothing but be better at what you do, your craft, and do what you do the best at. And that's coach and finesse, not listening to 30-minute calls trying to figure out, is my team doing the right? Like, no, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of human capital, in my opinion, at this point in time with AI and what I've seen.
Absolutely. And I want to dive into like the weeds and the mud of this thing. Okay. So let's get real deep on it. So let's say I'm also an agency owner who's like, and I just talked with a very large agent in Georgia who has this problem, right? And he's like, we get all this data out of agency Zoom and it shows us the dispositions and how this data converted to business and how much of it we didn't sell. And like, he's looking for a way to kind of tie in like the back end data, disposition data, and like the net sales result. I'm curious if you guys have thought about that. And like, if there's already a tie-in or you're trying to analyze how you can get it tied in to where like we can load in disposition data now and get like a really accurate like pipeline view.
Oh man, Andy. So this is a technology that we've been working on for 8 months. It's in testing the bugs right now, just working it out, but we'll roll it out in the next probably 3 weeks. It's called a vectorized reporting type of technology. And so what an agency owner will be able to do is, so agency coach is going to be able to provide more data than an agent's ever had availability. So you could break it down per team member, you can break it down for an office, you can break it down for a day. But just as an example, Andy, here in about 3 weeks, owners that are with agency coach can literally be like, hey, Ava, could you summarize every sales conversation over the last 30 days and tell me the trends you're noticing, the most common objections my team is having issues with, and what I should coach them on going into the next month? And she's going to be able to give you that data in about 2 minutes. And so it's going to be incredible, from KPIs to data to team member performance to customer objections to weaknesses in the conversation, sales, service, everything in between. And so we don't have that yet. It's been a really long, drawn out process because it is a pretty in-depth technology. But I'm very excited about it because that's going to change agency owner, the managers, even producers' lives, because now they can get data that they've never had access to before, which again is just going to create awareness and allow them to make better decisions moving forward. And so I'm super pumped about that technology. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's sick. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And a lot of people don't know how to analyze it themselves either. It's so time consuming or so overwhelming that it's a once a 3-month activity and not an all the time thing. So I love that you can bring in something that's consistently helping them make those conclusions and then make, better decisions from there. And another area I'd like to just pick your brain on, since you're in the space, is going to be, so this is hyper focused on one of the biggest pain points in the agency, which is the people, the human capital, the conversations that are happening with customers, tweaking and modifying the sales process to increase conversions. But if you also inspect a producer's day-to-day, they've also got a lot of other mediums that they're communicating on: text messages, emails. You've got owners who might want to put together a marketing plan. So I'm curious, like, first of all, if that's a lane that you guys even want to fly into, and if not, like what other solutions are you seeing out there just as you're kind of bumping up into the space where like, you know, do you see a multi-tool solution for agencies where it's like, hey, we've got Agency Coach AI, and then we've got this that helps with the medium and written communication with my team. And then we've got this as a marketing engine for the agency owner to make better marketing decisions, better marketing copy, put their dollars in better marketing tools. Like, how do you see other tools kind of stacking on top of this? Or is that something that you kind of want to, you know, eventually get into as well and kind of wrap your arms around the entire agency and all the different aspects that are going into it?
No, so that's a really great question. So I would tell you, like with the reporting that we're going to be able to do, that like the marketing question you just asked, based off of that data, we will be able to provide that for agents. But the cool thing about Agency Coach, like you mentioned in emails, like we'll already generate follow-up emails for prospects to where now the team member doesn't have to do the follow-up email. We do that. We connect directly to the CRM to where a meeting note is no longer opinionated or biased. Right when that call ends, we drop the what happened on that call into the customer note or file within the CRM. But as far as like email campaigns and stuff like that, I would tell you what I'm seeing right now in the market. This is nothing we do. That's nothing necessarily I have interest in right now. Like we've really tried to unify a tech stack when it comes to the sales training, the coaching, the instant feedback, the accountability, the performance. That's just what I'm passionate about. And then really play well with phone systems and CRMs. And so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing phone systems and CRMs also invest heavily into AI right now. So like most CRMs, I believe, are going to be able to do exactly what you're asking them, what you're asking. I think most CRMs, if they can't already do that, they'll be able to do that very shortly to where you should, I hope, because the technology is there. They have to be willing to invest in their company. But you should be able to say, hey, based off of all of our trends going on in the CRM, can you create an email campaign for me? And it should be able to knock it out for you, just like a Chat GPT. So I believe that most CRMs and phone systems will be able to do a lot of this. Same thing with text messaging. Most phone systems or phone providers, I hope, are investing in the technology right now that based off of a call or based off of certain calls and track data, that they'll automatically be able to start creating text messages for customers to send out automatically. So I think that if that's not already here, I believe that will be here within the next 3 to 6 months for most insurance agents that use phone providers and CRMs.
Yeah, to just kind of be pushed down, and there will be leaders in that space. So that'll play very nicely with what you guys are doing.
Yes.
And real quick, just because I know there's somebody out there thinking this, compliance. So we got a scenario where a coach says something to say, it is said, it is non-compliant, and now we're in a compliance complication. How do you guys kind of protect against compliance issues and things like that? Because I'm sure if you're talking with, you know, different outfits, solo business owners, potentially even carriers, that everybody's whole thing is going to be like compliance and we got to remain compliant, which makes sense. But I'm just curious how you guys sort of have hedged against that, because I know you well enough to know that there's no way you haven't thought about compliance. And I'm curious how that fits in with an agency owner's decision to kind of like dive into this world.
Yeah, great question. So from a coaching standpoint, we're coaching more on the sales conversation. So we're not coaching on necessarily like product specific questions and things like that, which is where you get into compliance issues with carriers. So we're not doing that unless, of course, we team up with a carrier, which is that's one of my big goals with Agency Coach. But from a I think the most common question I get is not necessarily the coaching on compliance, but security, protecting consumer data and things of that nature. So we've actually got all of the things built in the background. So the call transcription piece, I teamed up with a company, partnered with them that they've been doing this for a little over 2 to 3 years. And so we actually get checked every single month through third-party systems that try to hack into our system. And we have paperwork, trail of paperwork that shows that they've never been able to hack in. Also, we do not keep customer data. So I have zero access to my customers' workspaces. If they ever have a problem, we actually have to jump on a Zoom call. We have to do a screen share. We try to diagnose the problem to protect that. And the other thing is, think about CRMs and all the data they have. It all goes up to a Google Cloud. ours is very similar, except for we're not keeping like date of births. We're not keeping necessarily names, social security. All of that gets blurred out on our transcription piece, to where the only thing we're doing is just transcribing the ultimate sales conversation to allow you to be better at what you do. And so we've got all of those measures already in place. We get tested every single month because that is very important to me. And it was important to me just with the big goals I have with this company. It has to be secure. It has to be safe. And the insurance industry is so regulated that I would tell you that should be a question that agents should ask any AI provider that they're considering, because that's if something happens, then the agent's going to be in trouble. The company's going to be in trouble. Like there's a lot of issues there. So yeah, that's something we take very important, very serious. And that's one of the reasons why I teamed up and partnered with the company I teamed up with.
Super smart. No, that's great. And that's like another reason maybe not to go out and try to bootstrap something yourself, because you get into that entire realm and that's a whole nother complexity. And these guys have already done the work to like think through it all. It's
in technology. I'll tell you, this has been, because obviously when I teamed up with them, so we teamed up, partnered a little over a year and a half ago, brought a lot of money to the table. The technology is expensive. Like the amount of money we have millions and millions invested in this thing. And it's because I want this thing to be the best. I want it to work properly. I want it to create an impact. This isn't just like a side gig. And that's the biggest thing I think agents are going to have to navigate through over the next like 6 to 12 months is what AI should I invest in? What's my buddy just created something. Should I do that? Well, is it safe? Is it effective? Is it continuously being updated? So these are all questions that agents are really going to have to navigate through. And I think that's actually going to be the most complicated or difficult piece for agents, is figuring out what they should invest in, because early on, that was some of when no one knew who we were, they're like, well, there's this option and this option. And I would show them our option. They're like, holy smokes, Michael, like you are heads and shoulders above everybody else. And so but I do think that's going to be the most complicated part, is figuring that out for agents of what they should invest in, what they shouldn't invest in, what's going to make the biggest impact in my business, what's going to save me time, make me money. And those are all problems we're trying to solve with Agency Coach. And as I said, the cool thing with AI, and this is for all AI out there, is this the worst it's ever going to be. Like it's only going to get better. Like the next 12 to 24 months is going to be incredible for anyone that says they know what's going to happen even over the next 2 or 3 years. I'd be like, are you a fortune teller? Because the way the speed at which AI is moving is so advanced. I'm excited. I'm super pumped to just, because of the changes it is making, the positive impact it's making just in the 600 agents and producers that we're helping over the last 4.5 months, just to see what it's done for them. I can only imagine what our product looks like 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now. Like I'm very, very excited for that, because as AI evolves, that means we can also evolve.
Absolutely. That's huge. And this brings me to my final question, because this is, everything you're saying is just like hitting. And maybe it's because I'm like so deep in the space myself, but when you really start to look at like the conversation we're having right now, it's awesome to see you as like the center of this, having conceptualized and understood the space in a way that's very practical. And you guys have actually put in a solution to like bring it all together and create focus for people in a centralized spot. So I'm grateful for what you guys are creating, what you've done, because I think it's going to help save people a lot of decision fatigue when it comes to what to do, where to go. You guys have kind of centralized this entire concept and actually brought it, to market. But here's a curious question I had for you before we go. And it's more to do with Michael's day-to-day. I am curious, outside of Agency Coach, when you think about the way artificial intelligence has impacted your day-to-day as an owner and operator and thought leader, in a typical day, how integrated is just a multitude maybe of AI tools and solutions in your stack, and like what sorts of ways are you utilizing artificial intelligence just to make your life easier and buy back time? And I'm talking outside of Agency Coach. I'm talking in your own day-to-day.
Yeah. So obviously, last year we did blood results, for example. So this is more a personal side versus a professional side, but we went and got our blood tested, and then we had chat run it against oh shit, what's his name? Either way, it doesn't really matter what his name is. Peter Adia's like
Okay.
76 type of factors and what we should test against. And it actually popped and it told me exactly where I needed to do better, the types of foods I needed to eat. And then we had it create a meal plan. It changed my workouts. I quit doing so many cold plunges as well because I was doing too many and it was actually really bad for me, is what popped in the blood results. And so that's just one aspect. That's not necessarily day to day, but another recent one. So I just hired 2 sales professionals for my team at Agency Coach that I'm onboarding in February. Whereas beforehand, I would have had to be the one that created the 1099 agreement. I would have had to be the one that created the comp plan. Whereas literally this morning, I just had chat in 10 minutes, create a full-blown 1099 contractor agreement for me. That is just as legal, just as good as a lawyer could have done for me. That would have cost me hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to create. So that's on the business aspect. Those are the things we're kind of doing. Like even from, okay, hey, chat. So chat, we don't have a name for her, but I'm like, hey, good morning, for example. Courtney and I just did this the other day. So we're like, hey, we have a goal of helping 20,000 insurance and financial services professionals in 2026. Can you lay out a game plan of exactly what we should do day to day, week to week, month to month to achieve that goal? 20 seconds, she shot back a plan. And now sometimes you have to adjust with her a little bit, right? So that's how we use it. Is we use chat from a business perspective to help us gain clarity on maybe plans that we can execute and things of that nature, to where she's almost like a third-party thinking tool, almost like a coach for us, to where we're like, hey, here's what we're thinking. Are we on track? Okay, can you help us with the plan here? And then we obviously use her for like food, meal prep, workouts, things of that nature as well. Because 2026 is going to be a year of health for me, to where I'm getting back in. Last year was a year of golf. I'm going to continue to golf, but I'm also getting back into the gym just because I know I need to be at peak state all the time. I know I need to be feeling energized. And so I just had her put together some workouts for me. That would be a 5 to 6 day workout plan a week of what I should be focused on that would help me out with golf, but also so flexibility, rotation, but also help me build muscle. And so I had her put together a workout plan and a meal plan for me. And so we'll see what transpires over the next quarter. I had her do it for a quarter. So we'll see what happens over the next 3 months. But that's how we kind of use chat. Like Court was an early adopter, got her tuned in really well. For anyone that's making social media posts or email campaigns, we use chat for all of that. So we fed chat all of the information, all my books, all of my trainings, to where she can just speak my language better than I can speak my language. Like her posts at this point in time, or emails, are better than I could do. And so that actually helped us from a business perspective. Last year, we were actually able to get rid of a third-party management or a marketing consultant that we had hired that was pretty expensive. And now we just use chat for all of that. So that saved us $7,000 a month that we can now just deploy back into our business, because we don't have to pay the consultant to be our think tank. We just use chat to be our think tank.
Absolutely. That's huge. And what you said about like loading everything into it and it having like your words and your voice is so huge. And I've done the same thing in my own life. Like if you're familiar with Otter AI can sit on calls and it transcribes everything. So I would take, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls, load it in and train the model to know my voice, the customer's voice, different scenarios, to where now if I'm in a situation where I need to reply to a complex request on an email or come up with a way to strategically go in on something, it already knows what to lay out. It knows the history. It knows the background. It knows the context of that type of customer. It knows how I would talk versus a robot. And it just, it's like what would have taken 50 minutes of sitting down and like thinking through this, takes all that thought and it's just boom, here you go. And it's amazing because I don't know if you've probably seen this as well. The customer receptiveness to what's being created, if it's done properly, is that they are far more receptive. And you get a lot more reciprocation back of like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And it's just like, it's operating at such a high level. And then another area that some of you, I think, should think with as well is task management, because, I'm one of those guys that suffers from biting off, a lot of things all at once and having list upon list. And one day I woke up and I was like, could I train the model to understand my priorities, what's most important in the business, and load in all of these different strategies and segments of what I need to be doing. And it actually just gives out a hour by hour, day by day time block to say, this is exactly what you need to focus on today. It's that old adage of like, you can't do 30 things in a day, but you can do 3 to 5 things very well. So getting it to do a lot more thinking to where it auto prints on my printer every morning, and I sit down and it says, this is what you need to focus on today. So went from this chaos to like this very organized intelligence that's actually like making those decisions based on what's most important to me. And then if I change those priorities, the tasks will change.
Yep.
So there's just so many practical ways as like a business operator as well. And then you stack in something like Agency Coach that's doing the coaching and the development of your team and the analysis, and you're operating at a higher level, they're operating at a higher level. Like imagine not doing that if you're watching, right? Imagine just sticking in the old way and saying like, it's a trend. Like it's not a trend. Like it's going to be a way of life. And I think it's going to be standardized unless you're just unwilling to adopt it. And luckily there's individuals like you and your team out there that can help take people from just this thought to like, yeah, we could literally have you online with what, like 3, 4, 5 days, you could have somebody up and running with it.
With this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's same day. I onboard them on the sales call. Yeah, we're rocking and rolling same day. They get the calls transcribed literally within 15 minutes of onboarding. It's fast. Yeah.
Okay, same day.
Yeah, oh yeah. If they're like, let's rock and roll, I get them onboarded right then, create their account, add their team, get them integrated into the phone and the CRM, and they're transcribing right when I get off the phone with them.
Geez, that's huge. Well, that begs the question, how in the world can people get a hold of you and your team and start to engage with you?
Great question. So you can go to agencycoachai.com and you can contact us there. There's a contact form. Feel free to also text me 816-727-7610. That's going to come directly to me. It doesn't come to my team. And or obviously, if we're not connected on social media, connect with me on any platform, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and we'll go from there.
Incredible, Michael. Well, this has been amazing. I would absolutely literally like to spend all day talking about this with you. I know we've got places to be and people to serve, but congratulations to you guys for actually putting something together that works and taking it out to market. And I'm excited to see you guys with your 20,000th and first user, which will be one of, I'm sure, many more to come after that. So anything I can do to help support you, just let me know. But yeah, thank you again so much for your time, and make sure you guys reach out to Michael, engage with his team, and also show him some love on Facebook. He's on Facebook and Instagram, and you can look up the Insurance Buzz and check out all that content as well. But Michael, as always, it's been a huge pleasure, and thank you so much for your time this morning.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.